Alright, welcome back to another exciting episode of Minetest gameplay of sorts. Yeah. And we're finishing up the tea house up here in the Japanese castle and garden area. But this is one of the completed houses. And we have a cook pit in the floor, which is going to be kind of important. And I redid the floor on this. So we have some tables and turned out pretty cool. A chain to hang a kettle or a pot, which I'm working on trying to do. Some sleeping area and a little room to do work in, some wood pile. That completes that area of this house. Now we have the dojo over there, which we saw last time. I did some upgrades to the larger house over here in the woods and turned out pretty cool. Come up to the path here. I actually gave it a second floor and an entrance. So there you have it. Get a better picture of it here. And there's part of the wall, but as you can see, the wall abruptly ends because I have to figure out how to do the transition down, but that's for a later time. The house turned out pretty cool. The roof turned out. So my design for the wall is exactly the way I want it. And it looks, from the reference pictures of the actual castle, that's pretty much right on there. So on this house here, and then we'll go take a look at the tea house. I'm re-recording this episode because I did not like the way the other one turned out. So you come in here and you take off your shoes and then you come into the main house and you have all these little rooms. You have a little shrine going on over here. And then the large room, there's going to be a kitchen over here and some seating for meetings. And this is pretty much authentic to reference photos I was able to find. Over here we have a couple rooms which go all the way back out to the front here. And I found out that in Japanese architecture, they call it an angawa, is a hallway that goes all the way around the house or the building. And then all the rooms are in the center. So that's what that's called. So we have some rooms up here and some storage, and I'm not sure how I'm going to decorate this house, but it turned out pretty cool with the second floor on there. And I didn't want to leave it as it was. So that's my design. The first floor is somebody else's design except for the front part and the top. That's mine. So I made it my own, like a Britney Spears song. I don't write the songs. I just make them my own. Yeah. Okay. So that takes care of that. So we have the houses finished. I made a Japanese black pine tree, which actually turned out really neat. And I'm going to be putting a couple of these over by the tea house. And it's just pine needles, fences, and the redwood trunks from CG Decor, or you can put whatever wood that you want to put in there. So we have our little dojo. Then we come over here and we have the tea house, the meeting room and tea house. And I built the roof, but I'm a slow builder. And basically it was a half hour of me just trying to get the roof right on both sides. So we'll take a look around here real quick. It's set down in the hill here. And as I fly through a tree, of course, the roof turned out okay. And I had this beautiful pond back here to do, and I didn't want to leave it. So there's the tea house. This is where they're going to have tea ceremonies and meetings, everything like that. So on here, and I'm going to remove some of these trees to put in one of those Japanese trees. I used my my clear panels, I don't know if I'm going to keep them there, but I wanted the house to be open, or the building to be open, and those are panels, so they will slide open. And you have this hallway that leads all the way around, and then you can go in here, and this is going to be separated into different areas for said tea. Now, if I keep the floor like this, and I keep it down, it's going to cause a problem with trying to put a little fire pit in. So one of the ways you can do it is like that. We have a little fire pit. And I'm warming up to this idea, and then I can put in some seating. Seating is really easy on this because if I look up table, and of course, spelling is optional today. I need something that's not going to show. That's going to show too much. So what we're going to do is, just for right now, I'm going to use that block. So basically what'll happen is, yeah, you can have like some tables set up, and then, but because of this being down here, I would have to replicate this with some carpet blocks, some half-height carpet blocks, and that's not a problem. So that'll, you know, I could put one over here, and this, and put a stone surround, and then I can put another one over here with a stone surround, and that would give my 2 separate tea rooms with seating, and have some seating around there. So that's how that's going to play out. Now on the, let's see here, I have screens open back here. We come back out here. We have a little place to look out. And then over here we have like a little deck. And I was debating whether to take this out farther and then to copy the roof out. I still may do that. I just may test that. Hi, Mr. Bunny. And go from there. So that kind of takes care of that. I'm going to have to play with it some more. It is growing on me. So right here, this is a good candidate for what I want to do. We're going to get rid of this tree here. And that tree on that side is going to go bye-bye. So let's see. We use this one. We have pine needles. And Michael Gentles asked if, since my mod was coming along, if I was going to post it somewhere. So as you can see here, this is my mod, and I have a lot of blocks in here. However, I have to clean some stuff up. You know, I have the apocalyptic donuts of doom, and I have some other things I'm working on. Obviously, I'm not going to release it with 19 different variations of vases. However, I do have a bunch of other blocks that I am happy with, and I am going to put those up. So I'm working on separating the mod. One of the problems that I'm having with one of the graphics, so what I did was I took pine needles and I took CG Decor's cherry blossom, because I want a cherry blossom tree, and it has transparency in it. So when I imported it into GIMP, you can see here's the pine needles. Now you can see the grass through the block. And I looked on the forums. I can't find anything on why this is doing this. So all I did was I took the pine needles into GIMP, and I wanted to change the colors into more of the pink and whites for the cherry trees. And when I resaved it, no matter how I saved it and exported it as a PNG file, sRGB or indexed, it didn't matter. What happened was it gave the same symptoms as this one's doing. Now, if you look here, you can see into the earth. And it's supposed to be wood on all four sides with glass on the front and back. It was supposed to like create a portal. But as you can see, it just goes straight down. So obviously I did a very simple mistake, but it's making it so. Where did my tree go? Oh, it turned from dirt into grass. So we are going to go here. And I really don't like the way that the block turned out. Now, I did create a kind of cool cherry tree leaves, but there again, like I said, it's not turning out like I wanted it to. So what we are going to do here is we're going to recreate this kind of Japanese black pine. And how did I do that? I want it to come out here and hang over. So we come out here. And then we have a branch coming off the back. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of like a, oh, what do you call it? When it's all said and done, it looks like almost like a bonsai tree type tree. So then what you do is you take the needles and on the top, you place it everywhere on the top. You don't have to. And the whole thing is, it's all preference. And then what I did is I actually came around and did the sides. Which gave it a kind of real cool, filling it in. And then you just fill it into taste. So, and it takes a little bit. I'm just doing this real quickly. It takes a little bit to kind of get it exactly the way you want it. But that's about it. You could try, let's see how well I did here. It's not bad. I have to play with it some more here. But for the most part, that's what the tree looks like. And you can get real creative with how you bring the branches off. And you're using the, see now if you put stuff on the bottom, it kind of overfills it. But there, that's one of them. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to get rid of this tree real quick because there's no sense in having multiple trees all over the place. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do. There's going to be a lot of changes to this property because although I am happy with how the house turned out, see that tree looks cool. Although I'm happy with the way this turned out, I'm kind of not. And I think it's because of these windows. Now I can do anything I want here. I can go ahead and I can actually put in walls. No, I can't because that block there. I can actually take this out and I can put in walls. So that is one of, that is one way. But the main thing from the reference photos that I was looking at to what I actually tried to pull off is that these panels were only half high. So I am going to look into that. I still have to finish some of the graphics on the other panels that I was working on. These kind of half panels. So there's an upper, lower, and middle panel. So what I could do is, one of my ideas is to have one of those panels make a complete brown panel, and then have that center panel on top of there. And that would give a more realistic look of some of the research photos that I had. So that's one thing. I do like the idea of this, of being the tea house. It's an actual building that they do use. So see that Japanese tree looks really cool over there. I might actually put a couple of them around there and go from there. This kind of elevation change, I think, detracts, where you can see the dojo is even and that house is actually up a little bit, and then the house in the back is actually up higher. But for the most part, this area is done. No more buildings. Now it's just going to be decorating with cherry trees and Japanese maples, and then the Japanese black pine. See, now, what did I do differently on this one that made this one look so much better? Now I took some on the bottom too. Okay. That might work, I guess. It's all personal. It's all personal preference, because once you start putting some on the bottom, it changes the way, the dynamics of it. Now that looks off. Trees are not easy. You know what? I don't like that. I like it. I like this one like this. And they have some pretty outrageous designs on some of these. I mean, these trees do not look like the American pine trees that we're used to. I mean, these trees have a real cool, it almost looks like, so they'll come up, and instead of being full like that, there'll be these little pockets of needles everywhere. And you see a lot of the branches. So there you have it. That is we have the tea house and meeting room with complete, and this area here is going to be the focal point. I'm going to put some more trees back here and get rid of the snow. And because we got this gorgeous shoreline and an area here, we have the dojo, the fountain in the square, and I took those off because I did not like them. We have the larger style house for a more important person of the kingdom, of the empire here. We have our little house here with, this one has all the completed niceties. See, I kind of like that variation with the dark wood and the light wood, but this turned out okay. I'm really not complaining about that. And then I just have to finish up little things like the path that's going to cut through here through the bamboo forest. We have our ship, our docking area, we have our torii, and that's the other thing. So the gate that runs across the back here, what I was thinking about doing is, since the factory is up here, here's the nuclear factory and mining facility, which I kind of didn't understand or didn't know was that close. I'm going to fill that in. So back here, I can put in another gate, which would be one of the entrances. Now, the only thing I would do differently, and then create a path that goes down to the square, or I could put a main gate right here. And this way you can go down here to the square, to, past the houses. One thing about the real castle is that it did have a moat, but not like this. This whole area, this castle was elevated on these platforms of cobblestone, and the whole area was built up real tall. And then it just slowly went down in elevation around this kind of maze of buildings and pathways. And the real castle has 7 gates that one has to get through to get to the castle. So the only thing I would have done differently is I would have set this farther back so that it's not so close to the shoreline. However, I like it. I really do like it like this, but in the future when I do other castle stuff, I know the mistakes that I made on this one, but the area that I chose really looks sharp. We get a nighttime view here of everything, which looks really neat. So yeah, and I am going to be putting the mod up. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be on Git or GitHub. I'm not one. I really don't care that Microsoft owns GitHub now. You know, it is what it is, and I am an open. I do primarily use open source. However, I can't see Microsoft doing anything that would harm open source projects when they're trying to do the we love Linux and we love open source kind of movement that they're doing right now. So I want to clean that up because it's very embarrassing to show spaghetti code and everything else. And I still have to figure out that graphic problem and get my all my credits and references to all the people's any of the graphics that I did not create. You know, obviously you have to give credit. Why does that look weird? What is going on there? You have to give credit where credit is due. Oh, that's fine. I made a mistake on the roof in going up, and I can't figure it out. I can't put in a little ornament here because this is a lower part of a half block. So I'm not redoing the roof. It's got the shape, it's got the gentle slope, and then the high slope. And I can do something ornamentally here on the top, but for right now, this is done. So this area is done. It's just tweaking and beautifying, putting in more of those trees, which trees are hard. I'll give you that. Trees are hard, and go from there. So now I did find this I found this excellent video from a person in the UK, and I'm going to link to it in the show description. And this person is a medieval castle expert and loves castles in the UK. So those kind of medieval castles are one of my favorite types. And then you have the Japanese style castle, obviously over here. And he did a video with a person from Japan who's a historian of type in Japan. And it's a half-hour long video, but it goes through the actual differences in building materials and methodologies of why the Japanese did their bases out of cobblestone and their castles were made out of wood with laminated lacquer finishes on them to prevent fire, compared to the medieval castles of Europe, which were primarily stone and wood, but they were primarily stone. They used whatever materials that they could find, but it was a really interesting comparison between the Japanese type castles and fortresses and the European type medieval castles and fortresses. So, on that note, and I have over here I can do something with. I know, a bathhouse. Let's put in another. No, I'm done with this area. I'm going to try to make this house. It just, something looks off and I can't put my finger on it. But it's nice looking. I'm happy with it and go from there. But I'm my worst critic. So there we go. This is done. And I'm going to show you all the neat, cool things I did up with my medieval castle. And we're going to redo the moat up there on the next video. And we're going to look at, in a future video, Mom and Pop's furniture mod has been updated and has some neat new features in it. So we're going to be looking at that and going from there. Getting some modern houses built. So thank you very much for joining. Tomorrow's the 4th of July, so everybody have a dry, safe 4th of July. And have a lot of fun. So thank you for watching. And until the next video, goodbye.